Well, me particularly and all my staff, we're pretty excited, of course. It's one of the major events in the world soccer panorama, and for clubs, for sure, the biggest one. And after my life experience in football, I already made as assistant coach Champions League matches, Europa League matches, but now having the chance to be in a Clubs World Cup is obviously a highlight mostly in my career as a head coach. I think for me it's a very particular position because last year I was in another club, which also I qualified for the Champions League, for the Clubs World Cup. So having the chance now to come back again on that possibility and be present with Mamelodi Sundowns, such a big club, is obviously is a clear highlight on the career of any coach, that event, and for me obviously quite a big achievement. Yeah, that's exactly the question, because I think by what I feel is that everybody's pretty proud by one side of being in that competition, but at the same time with the responsibility of knowing that they want to perform, because the mindset in the club is very strong towards performance, towards achieving goals, towards achieving trophies. Obviously we know where we stand, and we have, but also we know our ambitions and where we want to go to. We understand the reality, but we are willing to make our best in every challenge that we'll face. And that's also a test for us. In which level are we? Because we know that in Africa, we are one of the biggest teams. But we want to understand in which level also we can be regarding different realities in the world. Obviously, for myself as a coach that comes from Europe, I already worked in France, in La Liga, I worked in Spain in La Liga, in Liga 1 in France, I worked in Greece, I worked in Ukraine, and Portugal, of course, so I have quite an idea about the level of teams and the players. But it's quite challenging to understand that teams will make a big difference, and we want to be very strong as a team. We know that we have important players, but we want to be very strong as a team when we arrive in the Champions League, because if we can do it as a team, arriving there strongly in the right mindset, with the right behaviors then in the pitch, of course, because the team is always based on the behaviors, we believe we can challenge ourselves and create challenges for the ones we're going to play against, and that's what will be the most important thing. We want to compete. It's obviously a team that is used here in South Africa to impose. That will be quite challenging, because I know that, as you said, for example, with Borussia, it's a high-tempo, high-rhythm team that comes from German football, which is very intense, very quick, very aggressive. And we'll have to deal with that, and we'll have to deal with we'll need the right mentality to understand that playing against those teams in some moments will not have the ball. And how a team like us, that is used to control the games, to arrive in the end of the games and have 70% of ball possession, how we'll deal with things that will be more equal. But also we should understand that we also play Champions League matches here in South Africa, and those relations, they become more similar, because here in South Africa there are obviously wonderful teams that also compete in the Champions League for the trophies, for the last stages of the competition. I think we should think on ourselves more on that level. So we should push ourselves to the limit to cope with teams that will be for sure in the level of the best ones we played against already. And we need to target ourselves to the limit. That's clearly the question and how I see it. Usually the teams play in defense against us because we are stronger, and they just aggress us with long balls in the front. So we have to cope with the different style of game that doesn't allow us to really stay in their half pitch, because they, in one touch, they just put the ball in the front. But I believe that we will play against teams that will have capacity to escape from our pressure. I believe we'll play against teams that will have capacity to submit ourselves also in our half pitch. And that's why I believe that only a very complete team from Mamelodi Sundowns will be able to cope with the quality that we're going to face. But also I believe the other teams will have to understand that playing against us will also oblige them to be a very complete team, because also ourselves, we're going to challenge them for sure. That's what I want for my team, that we play without any weight in our shoulders. Just go there and make the best, because the worst things that can happen is finish a game and getting the feeling that we didn't play in our level, that we took inside the pitch a weight that you should not carry by the responsibility. We need to release that all. We need to leave that all out and enjoy as much as possible. Because our players, they need to enjoy when they play football. That's how I feel every day when I train them. And I'm always asking for that. Now that we work so hard to arrive on the competition, it's competition day, let's profit from it. Let's also enjoy, because then we carry a weight that is not positive in terms of how we perform. And African football is also about joy. It's inside the pitch, it's outside the pitch. People should not think that our game is not organized, because there's an idea that African teams, they are not organized mostly on defense. That is already not true. I think that's a way that has been done in the last years, and if you go to the best teams in South Africa, for example, you see teams with organization. Maybe they play their way, but we see some things that already allow us to say that the level of football in general is quite interesting. And that's what we have also to take to the Clubs World Cup, is the joy of being African, the pleasure of representing South Africa, but showing the world that we have high-level football also.